Hi guys, Matt Lemke here with TrueGamerGoggles, gamer-goggles.com. This is a short session. Well, maybe it's going to be a little bit longer than I think. A short session on alignment. You know, there are certain things that alignment does, and I guess the best way to do this is to showcase some things. Like you've got Batman, who notoriously does the right thing because he's a good individual, or you've got Superman, who is over the top, and you know, I guess it depends on which, you know, if you're looking at cinema or if you're looking at the comic books too. He's notoriously following the law and notoriously following the law and doing the right thing. And then you've got other characters like Sturm the Brightblade, who you could roleplay in Dragonlance, or is a character in the Dragonlance novels, who has this recurring dream about how he's going to die. And a lot of people, and you can really sense the story of Sturm and what he's going through, and how he's going through, and how he constantly comes back to something that's not your traditional alignment, and to his code of ethics from his order. These are the things we're going to kind of look at. So, what is alignment in RPGs? Traditionally, it's been the axes. It's spelled axes, but it's axes of lawful, neutral, chaotic, and then good, neutral, and evil, in how they interact in this weird pattern. And for the longest time, when I started playing as a kid, we really didn't use it at all. The only time we really used it is when we played Paladins, or we played an Assassin, because it was a requirement to be evil. You know, when you're 12 years old, you don't particularly know how to be very evil. You know, and for many years I used that as a guide, but it was always just there lightly kind of in the background. And I think that's how most people really use alignment. But in the last 5 years, getting much more into role-playing consistently with a group of players that are playing 2 and 3 campaigns and have a group of different characters, there's a lot of different forms and things to alignment. One of the things I like to do as a GM is I have characters create 3 things in their childhood history up until the time they became a character. So, I mean, if you're in your 30s as a character, it's not just your childhood, it's something that happened. And these 3 things are things that affect your decision making. And we're going to come back to that later. One of them could be you were very poor as a child and lived on the streets for a while, and how does that affect and change your character? What does that force your character to align to? More traditionally, there's lawful evil, lawful good, good versus evil. And I think that is a great idea. I don't think it has to be rigid like some people think. It's not rigid. It's a guide. It gives you more depth for your character and something they could parallel themselves to while they're walking through the course of the character's life. New players aren't always great at alignment. They'll have this thing where, oh, well, you know, I really want that thing, I'm just going to take it. And that doesn't necessarily fit the personality of the character. And I think that's important. I think the whole idea of alignment, whether that alignment is something that is lawful good, lawful evil, the whole lawful spectrum, or the whole, you know, law good, chaotic, neutral, and evil spectrum, is what you want to use, that's fine. It could be an order. It could be a lot of different things. It could be a different outlook from a different culture. Like within a game world, this culture does these things. Well, this culture over here might see some of that stuff as taboo, but then they're playing together, and this character's doing something and this one's not. How do they work together in your storyline to create? Well, that's all. It should create tension. But how do they work together as players to make that interaction happen? That's one reason why alignment's important. Another reason why it's important is I actually believe it makes it easier to play a character. I am writing. I write a lot. Well, not a lot. I have written a lot in my life. I create a lot of characters. And I would say creating characters is one of the things I'm better at in role-playing and storytelling. Uh, alignment adds a very deep and philosophical depth to your character potentially. And when I say potentially, I mean you take the abstract concept of lawful and evil and merge them together, you have a concept of a circle that this individual kind of walks in. It's not necessarily as rigid as an order, but if you're playing a knight and you want something that's going to be stand out to make you help you make your decisions, that order is very, very important. If you are playing a character that had poverty as a child, he might end up being a good Samaritan and give away half his wealth or her wealth. And I think I covered the different aspects already mostly. So, good role playing with alignment can definitely enhance the experience of everyone around you. It can also, you got to be careful, if you're playing your character too well and somebody's not as experienced as you or just not as good at it. For example, maybe an actor sits down at the table for the first time and starts playing a character, and they look at this and they really embrace the idea of lawful good and then somebody does something like the rogue steals something from somebody and the lawful good character catches it. That could create some tension, and the rogue who's not used to playing with somebody who does that might get upset and offended. I think alignment in many, many ways should be one of the number one influences in a character's decision making. And again, I'm not saying alignment is required, but I think that if you're playing a character to show the character development and the arc of I'm starting here, I'm going through this tension and this turmoil and coming back to the individual that I am, you have to have something that's magnetic. You have to have the two polar opposites of each other, and you have to have the back and forth of the character of how they grow and develop and become what they're to be when they retire as a player. Every good story that's out there, the characters have an arc. In role-playing, we kind of tend to not create such an arc, and that is not always the easiest thing to do. A GM has sometimes as many as 6 people at the table creating different story arcs, and that can have a mechanical impact. And when I say mechanical impact, I'm not necessarily talking about like spells and things of that nature, although in some game worlds it is kind of cool to use different things for different things to set them off. For example, in Rage of Elements for Pathfinder, you can create characters very similar to things from Avatar, where one focuses on water, one focuses on fire. Those are alignments that are actually built into the class. An alignment is very broad, and mechanically speaking, those are probably the best examples. Or healing and harm. You align yourself to heal or to harm, and then later on maybe you take something that allows you to do both. And it affects your decision making. As a game master, you can use this to put a lot more character and flavor into your world. Are all dragons evil? Are giants evil? Are dragons benevolent beings? So you have something to guide your monsters and your creation. Goblins, for example. Are they the stereotypical raiders? Or, a good example, what book is this? Anyway, there's a book, and they give the world a lot of character by seismic activity. So that would be a form of alignment. It also gives your characters a new dimension of certain areas might be seismic activities they got to be careful of. They have, weather. All these things help people develop things, because if you're in a world where there's more seismic activity, you're going to think differently. You're going to try and think through that character's eyes and that character's brain differently than you would if you were in, say, Forgotten Realms. I think that in many ways, if you use the alignment system, you're going to have greater growth among your players. You're going to have better storytelling. It's going to give you better storytelling. So what's better for you? A fighter who just kind of goes out and kills things and just on a whim, or a fighter that has 3 things in their story background, one that leads them to protect children, and I'll get to that in a second, one that maybe leads them to helping people eat because they were poor, and we'll just go with 2 for now. And then maybe you have alignment of like a lawful and a good alignment on top of that. So here's the situation. You've got people fighting on the streets, and your major bad guy is about to die. Well, you've set the scene. The scene is you're on the streets, you're in the city streets. You may not have said this, or you didn't say this at all. There's a wagon over here, there's a guy on a horse over here, and everybody's starting to watch, right? Well, in the distraction, your fighter's getting ready to take his last killing blow on your ultimate bad guy that you need for another 10 levels. You need him. Or you have to create a totally new bad guy and figure out how you're going to tie your story in that your players just eliminated the bad guy because they found him too early in your campaign. So, and this actually happened, it happened to a character that I was playing. The GM was like, hey, perception check. I'm like, okay, I roll a perception check. He goes, you notice that a wagon with children in it, and my character was very fond of children and helping them, got loose. The carriage got loose from the horses, and it's rolling down the hill backwards, and the children will most likely die. My character had to make a decision. He chose the children because that's the way I built him to play him. The bad guy got away, and several levels later we got to finish him off. But that's how it can play into better storytelling. I think, and we'll talk about character development later. I think that if you give them a background history other than the backgrounds that are in the books, like you go a little bit farther than that, and you make them tie that into those backgrounds, you can really use it as a strong mechanic for developing characters in your games. In conclusion, I think that alignment aids players, especially new players, in building and developing deep characters that they feel are a part of them. Anytime that a character is something more than just, I don't care if I play, you're doing something right. It helps create story tension. You could do a lot of different things with this too. You could reveal at some point in time that the bad guy is somebody's brother. I've never experienced that before. It also creates distinct personal differences and perspectives among the different characters. For example, how is a barbarian orc that grew up in the swamps doing in the city with an elf that was trained from birth to fight, that's now basically a mercenary champion with one arm, and a magus, that is, or a magus, I never get that right, is just now beginning to realize that magic is pretty much dead in the world and grew up in a very wealthy society. How do they interact? How do they understand each other? What are the social differences in culture from the orc to the magus? It creates great storytelling. And every time you can play the same adventure path, written adventure path, with the same players, And every time they create a new character and walk those pages, you have a whole new world. Whole new world. Especially if the characters are different. I mean, if the one guy is playing the Orc Barbarian plays an Orc Barbarian again, or just a Barbarian, you could have very similar interactions with that. But that is the whole point of it. Please, guys, share your thoughts, share your expectations, and if you're still here, like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell. I really want the channel to grow. I don't really have any lifetime plans to do this for a living or anything like that, but I'm at that point where I want a much bigger community than somebody who just comes here and watches a one-shot review. Thank you guys. Have a great day, and thank you for watching. I had a lot of fun today. Hi guys. Meet the Nibbles, who's gonna go down. She just decided not to go down my back, so we'll do this for her so she's comfy. Thanks for watching my video, and I appreciate it. Please hit the like button and share it if you know somebody who might be interested. And of course, there's always Twitter and the Facebook thingy, and soon I have a newsletter coming. That'll be down there or in a link below, and my kitty cat loves that idea. So anyway, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, subscribe. Be a part of my community, our community. Let's make it grow together. See you guys at a con somewhere, or a local store, or if I'm driving through the country, maybe a game club. I don't know. You're not going to go knock down my camera. Bye, guys.